All right, so Airbnb is one of the hottest business models right now, and for good reason. You don't need to spend thousands on inventory like you do with an Amazon business. You don't need to spend thousands on advertising costs or have to keep up with crazy product trends like you do with dropshipping or e-commerce. You don't need $50K to buy a property that only cash flows you $500. And you don't need to hustle your life away 60 hours a week like you do with wholesaling real estate. Airbnb offers a very high cash flow per property. It's simple to automate, and it can be managed remotely from anywhere in the world, which is why it's so popular. That way you could have freedom of your time and freedom of your location, which is really the main reason why a lot of people want to get into these business ventures in the first place. It's also one of the most beginner-friendly options because you're relying on a platform to do all of the marketing for you, right? Which means you don't have to spend thousands on advertising. You don't need to learn the skill of advertising, running ads, understanding trends, and things like that. There's a lot of skill development that goes into understanding the data behind ads. So how do you get started? And can you actually start with $0? So today I'm going to give you a 90-day roadmap to launching your very first Airbnbs. So there are 3 ways to get started on Airbnb, and I'm going to order these by most expensive to least expensive with regards to startup costs. The first is purchasing a property, right? Now this offers both cash flow and equity. It's really the best of both worlds, but this obviously requires lots of capital for your down payment and whatnot. And this is much more risky if you're not good yet at analyzing deals, because now you're investing hundreds of thousands into a property. If you don't have experience in analyzing Airbnbs properly and really feeling confident about the revenue that they're going to make, which is not relying on what the realtor says, then this could be a very risky route because you don't know exactly how much the property is going to make. So I wouldn't recommend this for a beginner. Now, the second method is arbitrage. This is a simple concept where you rent a house available for rent. Then you furnish it and then you list it on Airbnb and you just profit the difference each month over rent and expenses. Now, your only expense is furniture, which can actually just be financed. Like you don't have to pay out of pocket for that as well. And that means that your only startup cost would actually be the security deposits of those first units, right? So if you're renting an apartment for $1,500, then your startup cost is going to be $1,500 for that first property. So you will still need a few thousand to get started if you want to acquire multiple properties, but this is still a much more scalable option that won't get limited by capital. And then finally, the third method of starting Airbnb is with co-hosting, which can literally be started for $0. So this means that you find a furnished rental property or a property that a landlord attempted to put on Airbnb, but it's failing because they don't know what they're doing. You basically offer to just improve the listing and then take the management off of their plate, and then you split the revenue at the end of each month based on a percentage that you agree upon. This is the lowest risk option, and you can literally start for $0 because they are paying for the furniture and there's no security deposit. I will say these are a little bit more challenging to find than like an arbitrage deal, but they're both fantastic for beginners. So all 3 are great methods. You have to choose the one that's best for you. Most people that I've mentored choose arbitrage to start because it can provide higher cash flow, it can be scaled a little bit more quickly, and those deals are much easier to find because if you know how to pitch them correctly, landlords find this very, very valuable to work with you. So let's break down 90 days, right? I'm going to go over the first 3 months of starting an Airbnb business, no matter what method you're choosing, but primarily with arbitrage and co-hosting. Okay, so month 1 is all about market analysis. So I have a longer video dedicated just to this process alone because this is a little bit more of a complicated process and you can watch that somewhere around here. But for the sake of this video, I advise you to choose a market that's within a 1 to 2 hour radius of you. Don't go searching some Reddit forum for like the magic Airbnb city. It does not exist. There is much more often than not potential in your backyard. You just need to figure out who is making money there and why. One software that you can use for this is AirDNA. Now, not all data on AirDNA is good and you need to know how to weed that out, but you can get a really good idea of where to begin by using it. Here's a simple method you can use. Head to the market that you're targeting and narrow down by the highest revenue listings. Now really study them, get a feel for what they offer. Pools, a certain aesthetic or renovation style in the home or apartment, prime location near something, even if it's something as simple as parking if you're in a metro area. Take note of all this and also take proximity, like what part of the city they're in, what types of properties they are, how many bedrooms they typically are, and really understand this because if you land a property that has those same exact amenities, then you really increase your chances of success and competing with those higher revenue listings. Now, if you want to be more exact on your calculations or your revenue predictions of a property, go ahead and watch this video that I'm linking somewhere here or in the description because this really breaks down how you can use AirDNA to come to that conclusion and know exactly how much money your property is going to make. You do not, I repeat, you do not need to buy some guru's secret in-house software to predict how much revenue a property is going to make. That is purely designed to get you to buy their program, and it's really not necessary. There's not many one-click options to doing this. It's really just about doing a little bit of research and digging to understand, hey, the competitive landscape near the property that you're targeting. You can just use AirDNA and follow the concepts in the video that I linked. Now, really spend time on this and get a feel so you know where to start. In our mentorship, we actually spend an entire one-on-one session just dedicated to this because it's so important when starting out on the right foot is knowing exactly which market to start in and what opportunities in that market makes the most sense. Okay, so now month 2 is all about outreaching your offer to landlords or property owners. owners. This is not rocket science. This gets overcomplicated a lot. And let me say this plainly and simply. There is a direct correlation with the number of conversations you have and the number of opportunities you have. The more conversations you have, the more opportunity there's going to be. Simple. This is a numbers game. You're going to hear a lot of no's, but as long as you go into it with the expectation of every 10 no's I hear, I get a yes, or even less than that, then you'll honestly see a lot of success in this space. That's one of the reasons we were able to scale so quickly, is just by this mass outreach principle. It's a numbers game. So here's how you can do that. More specifically for arbitrage and co-hosting. Obviously, finding a property available for purchase, you would go through your realtor and look at the MLS. But for the other models, start by looking for available properties to rent in the market you're targeting based on the criteria that you found in the earlier step. Now, a few sites I like to use for rent by owner listings, meaning I can go directly to the landlord and not have to deal with a property manager or a realtor, are sites like HotPads, Facebook Marketplace, Craigslist, Facebook groups. These are great because, again, you eliminate the middleman. I go right to the landlord, who is the decision maker. Then just start messaging them and start telling them about your business model. I actually have a whole other video that I'll link here as well that describes this process in more depth. I even give you the exact scripts you can use when messaging and doing that outreach. Then get them on the phone and present your offer, and do that a lot. Keep in mind, guys, you're not out here to like sell or persuade or convince landlords to do this with you. When you present this the right way, this is really valuable to them. You are eliminating everything a landlord fears. Like, for example, no more late rent because you're paying on time every month. No more vacancies because you're going to be the last tenant that they ever have. You're just going to keep renewing the lease forever and forever. No more calls from tenants because you're handling all of the automation and the day-to-day operations. So no more calls in the middle of the night about the leaky toilet and things like that. No more dirty property. You're going to keep it clean. You have somebody there every other day. It's a dream come true for a landlord, so act like it, and they will be over the moon about working with you for arbitrage or co-hosting. If you do this every day for 1 or 2 hours, you will be amazed at the amount of opportunities you're going to have. Stay consistent. You're building a business, right? You're not going to just totally drastically change the trajectory of your life tomorrow, but just stay consistent. You're building a business. Now, the pitch here is really important, so just go ahead and practice it using the points that I just gave you. Come up with your own way of telling a landlord that in a professional fashion. We actually do one-on-one role play sessions with our mentorship students, so that way they feel super confident going into any deal that they can close it, because if you can't close a deal, all this stuff doesn't really matter. But drive the point home with landlords, because once they get it, they will want to work with you. You don't have to sell them or persuade them. Now, finally, okay, so it is honestly getting pretty dark here. I'm in Scottsdale traveling for an entrepreneurship seminar, really not managing my Airbnb business much at all, which is great. But hey, that's the cool aspect of this business. So finally, in month 3, you are going to go live with your properties. Presuming you did everything I said earlier, you're gonna have plenty of opportunities by this point if you consistently and constantly spoke to landlords. Then you simply just want to refine the choices that you have and then choose a property or 2 to get started with. Now, for that refining process, I actually have another video that I'll link here as well that's focused on coming to a conclusion on how much cash flow your property is going to produce with Airbnb, whether it's buying or arbitraging. And that's actually pretty important before taking any property, so you know exactly how much money it's going to make. So go ahead and watch that video if you want to come to a conclusion on how to calculate an Airbnb deal. But when going live, it's very important to get all of the major things done right away. So that is furnishing the unit and completing the interior design, whether you do that yourself or you have somebody else do it. Get started on that and then just start ordering the pieces that you need. And then you also want to hire a cleaner, right? That's one of the first people you're going to need. You can find them on a platform like Turno that will connect you with other cleaners in the area that your Airbnb is being listed, and you can simply just have them bid for the project on that platform, which is really, really great. You can also network with cleaners and things on Facebook groups that are dedicated to short-term rentals in your city or state. And then finally, you're really just going to need to get professional photos taken. Do not take photos with your iPhone that will make your listing immediately look inferior compared to your competition. But that's quite literally all you need to get up and running. Now, once you get up and running, there's a whole other world of automation and things like that, but you don't need to worry about that now. You should just be focused on getting started. Then you can focus on really fine-tuning and optimizing the business. I hope that you guys found that helpful. If you want to learn more about how to build your own 6-figure Airbnb arbitrage or co-hosting business, we have an entire free course on the new school platform. It's totally free. Link is in the description. But if you're serious about getting a little bit more one-on-one guidance to accelerate your path to that portfolio, to getting to 6 figures and automating it, and potentially quit your job in 6 months like Sonny and Greg did, then simply head to the other link in the description, which will be clearly outlined. There you can book a call with me and my team. These are totally free, and it's really just to understand whether or not a mentorship is even valuable to you. If it's not, no worries. But guys, I really hope this was helpful for you. Please go ahead and add me on Instagram and shoot me a DM if you have any questions.